Welcome to the Typical Skeptic podcast, where we dive deep, you decide, questioning the matrix, from UFOs, where the shadows of known reside, Rob Khalil busting myths like ghosts in the night, paranormal pros, secret space ops, yo, we keep it real, no fright, Typical skeptical, seeking, never sleeping on the lies, aliens, Anunnaki, black ops in disguise, from abductions to ancient scripts, we flip the script wide, TSP style, mile after mile, truth can't hide. Hold up, TSP crew assemble, we dismantle the fable, my lab's targeted souls, breaking out of the stable, Dogman howling, Bigfoot prowling, cryptids in the mist, Mandela the fix, twisting reality, can't resist the twist, soul trap snapping, reincarnation mapping, holographic dreams, near-death visions, out-of-body missions, waking up the teams, no censorship here, we fear no elite scheme, conspiracy kings, ringing bells, hear the freedom ring, skeptical seeking, never sleeping on the lies, extraterrestrials, interdimensional highs, welcome to Typical
Skeptic Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Welcome to Typical.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest tonight. I have back the amazing ladies from the Farsight Institute. It's been a minute since they've been on, so we're going to get the latest updates of what's going on with Farsight Institute remote viewing. And I'm proud to have back Yeme and Intysam and Shantae to discuss the latest developments in remote viewing, extraterrestrial communication, and the ongoing ET board meetings featured on Farsight Prime. We'll explore the evolution of Farsight's work, the reported communications with Harvey and the other ETs, and how remote viewing continues to shape their understanding of disclosure, consciousness, and humanity's future. Farsight has released a series of ET board meetings and conversations with Harvey exploring these topics. And they're like, I would say they're like the leading forefront in remote viewing when it comes to remote viewing. So
dive into all of those different things that we're doing, that all of the data that we're getting together in real time. You know, we're not doing a laugh, we can smile, we want to play just as much as you guys do. We're just different. You know, we just look different, and we have a message for the people that are here on this earth, and we're here to help.
Yeah. Did they what do they think about what's going on with like the whole conflict and everything like that? Have they been open about that, the ETs?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're all present during the ET board meetings. Yeah, it is like a team effort, and they tend to meet us where we're at. So like lately with a bunch of the AIs, yeah, that's the best way I can explain. It's just another word for consciousness.
Cool. And you said a lot of these ETs that are visiting are kind of like AI. Like do they ever take form, or are they communicating with through would they communicate through like just like audio or something like that?
Oh, it's the same thing like with the other beings that are visiting. It's all like telepathic communication. So whatever form that they're using to kind of project them in the space so that we can perceive them in front of us. That's the same form they're taking. It still takes like a lot of mental concentration and, you know, telepathy to be able to like see them, connect with them, and then be able to translate their messages. But it's more or less the same thing. I think the continuation or the message that we keep getting is that these AIs are also ISBs. It's just a consciousness that needs to animate a body, basically. And so they will choose a body that is readily available.
That's cool. Yeah. And then Shantae, did you want to speak about some of the projects you've been working on as well with the remote viewing?
Oh, sure.
And also, if you might not, if you wanted to introduce yourself too, because like I know the audience might be familiar with Yeme and Intysam, but yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I'm Shantae. I've been with Farsight for almost 6 years now, doing scientific remote viewing, a variety of different targets and projects. I was on the podcast before though, but I mean, I guess maybe it's been like what, 2 years, maybe at
Yeah,
least.
it's been a while since you guys have been on. Yeah, so maybe I should
Um,
have a question for the ladies in the audience. Put your question in the chat, and we'll get to it. And yeah, one thing I wanted to go over was Intysam. You mentioned before I forget, like if you wanted to introduce yourself too, and you said you started a remote viewing game. That sounds interesting. Did you want to talk about it a little bit?
I did, yeah. So, like Shantae, I've been with Farsight for about 6 years. Um, yeah, and it's been a super interesting journey. And within those 6 years, I've had a number, yeah, because I love games and, learning in a fun environment. So this is basically a card game with just all the components of a card game inside of it.
So it's kind of like an Oracle deck, but for like remote viewing. Would you say is that kind of like
I
it?
would say it's more a game format than an Oracle card or tarot. Yeah.
That's so
More like,
interesting.
yeah.
So like
Um,
imagine playing like Pictionary or Uno or what Quizler, different things like that. And like imagine all those things in one space, and but with the object being what the target is on that card. Am I explaining that right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be kind of how it is. I'm so excited that this game is out. She's been working on it for quite some time. And so I'm like beaming right now, super excited. But yeah, a lot of the times while we were practicing just to keep our intuition sharp, we were having what we would call our Jedi trainings. I miss those.
Yeah.
Our Jedi trainings. And, we would be across from each other and like be able to hold up an Uno card and we would saw me at a art studio. We're both artists, and he was one of the few people I would look out into the audience for often. He was one of my good friends. I didn't know he was this weird, and had no idea. I just knew he was an artist. He used to draw me all the time, and one time he was gone for like weeks, months at a time, and when he came back, I asked him where he had been, and he said he was changing the world. And so, of course, I said, well, what does that mean? And he asked me if I knew about remote viewing. And I told him, I do not know about remote viewing. I have no clue what that is. And he explained it to me. And I looked at him with the cricket sound. I thought it was bogus. I thought it was bullcrap and just a coincidence, because I am a typical skeptic. I am skeptical about most things. Trust but verify is one of my biggest things. And so I'm like, okay, you cheated. Or, when he was teaching me all the different things, I was like, coincidence, right? And then he goes, all right, here's 3. He gave me like 4 sealed envelopes, and he could not unseal them. And this was when he was like leaving the room while I was doing my work. He said, there's envelopes. I'm going to put them in this briefcase, and I'm going to bring them. I'm going to set them over here. And I did my session. And when I called him back in, he comes in and he goes, okay, do you remember the envelopes? I said, yes. He lays them out. They're like the big, thick, like manila envelopes. And he lays them out and he goes, okay, pick one. And so I pointed to one, and he opens it, unseals it right in front of me. And it was exactly where I had been. And that's when I was like, okay, you got me. I'm here. What do I need to do? So I've been here ever. Oh, you're on mute, my darling.
That's
Wait, no, come back. You're still on mute. Who's to say that aliens aren't that? And what I did know is that alien meant not of this land. They call immigrants aliens because they are not of this land, And so I never like used it as that broad term of it is a creature that doesn't speak English and walks like this, right? I never did that. But what I did do was I was always open-minded because I did believe in magic. I did believe that there were other things out here that existed, and I just didn't have anything to confirm it. And now I make a living confirming it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. I asked the girls before the show, I said, like, is it weird telling people, or not weird, but like, it must be kind of cool telling people what your job is. Like, when people ask you what your job is and you're like, I'm a remote viewer, but like, I know, like, for me, like, when I tell people about my podcast, they're kind of normies, it's kind of weird. Do you get the same reaction, or like, do people understand it now more nowadays, but maybe than before?
I've had some interesting things. When I first started, my family thought I was crazy. I think my mom's on here watching somewhere. Yeah. My family thought I was crazy, and they were like, go get you a regular job. This isn't going to make a living. And one day I realized, like, it just clicked, is what we're doing. And we say an affirmation every single time that we remote view before we start our projects. I now tell people I am a metaphysical scientific researcher because that just sounds way cooler in conversation. And now I've stopped everything in the room. And people ask me what that is. And I let people know, like, we're spiritual beings. And because we're spiritual beings, we're able to perceive beyond all boundaries of time and space, and that our consciousness is ever present with all that is, was, and will ever be. And because we have this gift, we just have to remember how to use it. And I can teach you how to do that. And that helped people really like, oh, wow. My mom asked, oh, so like, are you a Scientologist? You don't believe in God? And I was like, that's not the case. So really, like, explaining what I do has been difficult, but now I'm able to like say it confidently, because I used to care what people think. Now I don't. I'm able to say it confidently, and I am able to look people in the eyes and say that what I do is I dig deep to find the truth that's hidden. And you can find
Yeah.
us on Farsight.
I love that. And guys, people in the audience are saying that they're having trouble with the YouTube stream. Just go to
Yeah,
the
they
Rumble
are.
stream, and then I'm also live on Facebook too. So but people are saying the Rumble stream's a lot better. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but yeah, Intysam, how did you get into remote viewing, and what kind of took you down this path?
I think for me it was I guess now looking back at it, it was pre-planned. Like, I don't know who I'm supposed to say pre-planned it, myself or the ETs or whatever it is that pre-planned me to be here at this moment. But I grew up seeing, like, watching my mom do like magical things that shouldn't make sense, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then so that I was already like privy that reality is kind of more than it looks like.
Can I ask you a
um
question? What kind of magical stuff do you think your mom, or do you know what your mom was doing? Was it like witchy stuff or something like that, or?
I mean, how do you even define witchy stuff, right? But
Yeah,
it's more like she
that's
defined it as prayer, right? Like
yeah,
she would sit down with her like pot of charcoal and throw garlic and salt and stuff like that and just like pray earnestly. But that's because our consciousness is the currency of the universe. If you will something hard enough, it will happen. We're always creating our reality. So I think that's really what she was doing. I wouldn't say it was witchcraft because she wasn't making any sort of like exchanges. Give me
yeah,
this and I'll give you this, because that's kind of like what black magic can be like.
yeah,
um yeah, no, but she would like pray in the morning for something specific, super specific, and it would happen exactly as she's like foretold it would happen. But she's super religious, so if you ask her, it's prayer and it's God answering her prayer. But I watched that Russell Targ, I think it was like a banned TED talk, and he was talking about remote viewing and how, like there's real life Jedis and stuff like that. And I'm like super into Star Wars. So I was like, what? Real life Jedis? That's incredible. So that got me on the path. I downloaded that ESP Trainer app. I started playing around with it. And then I spoke to my dad. And I was like, can you believe this? There's something, there are real life Jedi. And I had watched the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, the one about the um, Project Stargate. And it was like based on a true story. So at that point, I was like, this is insane. The CIA had a program for training real life Jedis. So when I told him about that, he said he had a friend from 40 years ago who he hanged out with in Africa because, my dad's lived in Kenya for
Yeah.
50 years now. And Courtney also lived in Kenya for a number of years. So that's how they knew each other. And he said, oh, yeah, I have this old friend. Haven't talked to him for ages, but he has a company called Farsight and you should check it out. And that's kind of what got me started, watching Farsight's content and stuff like that. And the most defining moment for me was watching the Death Traps, that particular episode. And it was Yeme, who was Princess back in the day, and describing what she's seeing, watching the death traps, watching the kind of like the beings get sucked, seeing like beyond the wall where there's these ETs that are orchestrating all of it. And when I saw that, my body kind of went into shock and I like separated from my body for a whole week. I was like, I
Wow.
couldn't feel my body. I kept having this kind of like suction type feeling. I'd just be sitting around and then I'd feel like my spirit being sucked, like zhup, like I'd have to like hold on. And this went on for a whole week. But the reason that was so important was because it clicked everything else for me. I was already like looking into reincarnation and, that we were coming back and back and back until we learn a certain lesson. And so having that confirmation I think it just set things in motion. So I reached out for training and Yeme trained me. And that's kind of how I got here.
That's cool. Yeah. And thank you, Yemi and Intysam for answering that. That was cool. And Shantae, did you want to tell people how this ended up in your path? And yeah,
Sure. So let's see. I had just maybe graduated college. I was studying biopsychology, and I was considering going on for like even higher education, but something was telling me that like this is a path I can take, but it doesn't feel like what I should be doing just yet. So similar to Yeme, I met Courtney in like an artistic space, and somehow like I don't even believe in coincidences anymore because it's like things have really fallen into place in a way that is like has brought me a lot of peace and knowledge and understanding of myself and the universe and all my possibilities here. So I won't say it was a coincidence how I met Courtney, but it's literally a way that I could not have ever felt like, oh, I put myself in this situation directly. But yeah, I also had no idea what remote viewing was. I never heard of it before. And but I watched the videos that Farsight had on YouTube, and I watched them. I'm like, I have no idea what this is. How am I going to train for this? How am I going to be a part of this? I don't understand, but it's an opportunity, so let me just see. And then I graciously was able to train with Yeme as well, and still kind of felt like I didn't know what was going on, but I'm like, okay, we're just, there's no reason to give up, So as we did more and more targets, then I was like, okay, getting feedback and realizing, wait, I definitely had that perception and I filtered it out. And then I find out the target, I'm like, wow, I was there, And then with more and more time, as I actually started to just put down all the information I was getting, and I'm like, okay, this is confirmation. I am at these targets. So I'm remote viewing, and there's even still times now where I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this is the information that I have, and that is what's relevant. So
Yeah. This is a really good question. I'll put it
You
up on the
know,
screen. This is from Drago
oh,
Reed. And Drago's in the audience, and he says, what Farsight project freaked each of them out when they found out about something major? And he said the crucifixion project was most mind-blowing to him. I would agree with that. That was pretty major when I saw that.
before I answer that, I wanted to say with Shantae, what's wild about how you came in is very similar to me, but on the back end, because Vincent Christie is the first person I met in Atlanta. And it's a completely different life. And I know you and I share that space, that artistic space.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Vincent about we wanted to find a specific person. And Courtney said, Vincent, you know how to talk to women. You know how to talk to people. Do you know anybody that, loves to be on camera and da 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 da? And he mentioned you for almost like a year before. He mentioned you for like a year, and I didn't know who you were. And I'm like, how come I haven't met this Shantae person? And so just to hear your side of that, I think that's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah. Did you want to go first, Shantae, and tell? Was there ever a project you guys did that kind of like really kind of like blew you away? Probably all of them, right, or a lot of them.
When I get the target reveals, it's always like, whoa, what? Why was I there? But it might take me a minute. I'll be honest. My mind kind of goes blank when it goes to organizing the targets in that way. Like, if someone just asks, like, what was your favorite, or like, what was the most interesting? We've done so many. I'll need a moment to think, to be honest.
Okay. Intysam, did you want to?
Yeah.
Go?
Yeah. I think the religious targets, like, this is Drago, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Drago. The religious targets are really something else, because you kind of like get to the manipulation that is happening on the humans, on all the humans, and religion has such a grasp, and it's something that you're not really supposed to question, or else you're going to be like labeled a heretic or something like that. And for a long time there were dire consequences. So the crucifixion project is definitely like top of the list. The other one is Lucifer, because it's such a dark presence. So when you get to the bottom of like what Lucifer is, and it's just, Lucifer was a being that it wasn't as scary. Had I known I was remote viewing Lucifer, I would have been way more freaked out than after the fact. Because then after the fact, I'm like, this just feels like another being, another ET, I didn't sense that kind of like raw power as much as I did sense the kind of like influence that rises at the top. It felt like a pyramid of this kind of just what you would call like bad behavior. And Lucifer was like at the very top and did a really, really good job of having like henchmen or being able to influence other people with the same disposition to him. But the other one, and this one was like humongous for me, was the Prophet Muhammad. And this is because I'm raised Muslim. My whole family is Muslim. And then when I found that out, I was like, I told Courtney, I was like, you can't release this. You have to take me out. What's going to happen when people like know? Because it's a humongous thing that you're coming after. That's how I saw it, that you're coming after like this major prophet of this religion that, however many, 3 billion people. And there's like fatwas where, they'll like say, oh, you're speaking bad about this thing, so we gotta take you out, something like that. Like it was super scary. And obviously he didn't pull it out. He was like, okay, if you want me to take you out, I'll do it. But I was like, no, just keep it on and I'll see what happens. But understanding like really how far that manipulation goes, because I mean, I did see the Prophet Muhammad, and what he saw was what he saw, you know, what is reported in the Quran. um However, he was shown what he needed to see. All that horror and the light show, basically, it's like he was being shown a movie, and I did feel that. And then the angel Gabriel, who in Islam is called Jibril. And I was like, as soon as I felt into him, I was like, I don't like him, because he just had this kind of, you could sense that there was, he had a purpose. He had, you know, his own motivations for doing what he's doing. And I was just like, I don't trust him, even before I knew what the target was. But the, yeah, it does, like, this work will completely dismantle your worldview, and you're gonna have to build it up again, and that can be really tough. And you're gonna have to answer to like your friends and family who are still within the systems, you know, the human systems, whether it's like, you know, religion or politics, education, all of that. So after that, I did have I did have like multiple days of just what do you call it, panic attacks. Yeah, but that,
What I was going to say about that was like, when it comes to like the religion, like, do you feel like that, like, maybe that that was done on purpose, that like like they sent an angel down, like, or fallen angels to manipulate humanity for all the major religions, or the Abrahamic religions, maybe just
all
on
of
a,
them. It
yeah,
goes beyond that. It goes back to the Greek gods, and this is something that we have a bunch of projects that haven't been released yet, so I
yeah.
can't go super into that. But we've released Zeus, we've released the Egyptian gods, all of it. Anybody that is a god is usually it's all just like a scheme to manipulate and to be able to shape the behavior of human beings. Because if you know what, who said something like, with certain technological advancements, it's hard to separate that from magic. So that if you see a being come down in like a spaceship, if humans, when they go to the Amazon forest, you know, sorry, like Westerners or whoever is in the now period, if you go to the Amazon and you show them a cell phone, they're gonna call you a god, you know? So this is how easy it is to kind of like make yourself seem like a god and invoke a certain fear, so that you shape the behavior and control a humongous population, and then you threaten violence, and you threaten like humongous consequences if that's not followed, such as the afterlife. You know, mess up in this lifetime and you're gonna go to hell forever. You're gonna be burning in eternity. So all of it, it's not
Meanwhile, it's
just
really,
the Bible.
yeah. Meanwhile, so it's like a manipulation of the religions, and then all on top of that, there's a soul trap, right? From what you guys have figured out, and right,
They do give us snippets of truth, you know, like with all these like with all the text and stuff like that, there is snippets of truth, such as, you know, like um the nature of the soul, the nature of the like the universe, but then they just kind of like put themselves right on top so they can sit on us.
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, and Yemi, going back to the question, what did you feel like your was the most like what shocked you the most out of all the projects that you've done?
I've been sitting here thinking of that. Um, Definitely the religious projects. I will say exactly everything Intysam just said. It will completely dismantle you. I was so discombobulated one time that I started crying in the middle of a Target reveal, because I'm raised
Whoa.
African Methodist and Southern Baptist, and so I lost it, and I was discombobulated for months at a time. But outside of the religious projects, the one that was very mind blowing to me the most. So I have two situations. And it's more so because of what happened to me inside of each one. And even Drago is my brother from another mother. Okay, y'all, I love him so much. But even the crucifixion, in the video, I started to do this, and but I thought I was on the ground. I didn't realize I was upright, and I was like, it just feels like I can't move, like I'm being stomped into the ground like this. And so like the things that happened to my body, and like, and I was like piercing, I was piercing the areas on my body. So even finding out that that's what that was wild. When it came to what made certain things mind-blowing is because of how I learned what I learned. When I did Jack the Ripper, and I know I talk about this the most, but right now, still, out of all the millions and hundreds of projects that I've done, that one affected me the most, because that's when I found out that I was highly telepathic. I didn't know that I was a highly telepathic person, and I don't think that Dr. Brown knew either. But that's because I started to mirror each action within my own body while I was remote viewing. And it felt like I was Jack the Ripper. And so when I found out what it was, it was just, it put things into perspective, because when we remote view, it's not like how we're looking at each other right now. At least for me, I'm feeling in colors. I may not see something, but I can feel it in my body to explain it. It's like a transmutation, it's like a communication, a way that you communicate within ourselves. And so to find out what something is after you've done it is wild. And then you look and you put it into perspective. And so being able to look at like the profile of, like the psychological profile of certain beings, of Hitler, of Jack the Ripper, of any of the presidents, that we've done, being able to look at that psychological profile just on paper without knowing who anybody is. A lot of these beings look the same, except what they've done with their gift or their power is what would be different. And so just finding out all these different minds. Sometimes I get my target reveals and I'm like, oh, are you sure? Okay. Right. And then sometimes I get it and I'm like, oh my God, like, is this what really happened? And so, all of every single one of the religious ones have thrown me for a loop. Hands down. War in Heaven, definitely, hands down. Crucifixion was shocking to me. Moses, that one was interesting, especially like understanding how the sea was parted. Like it floored me. And really finding out, when I do like historical things, like when I do the historical ones, they make me very happy because I like history. I like to learn. And it makes me very happy to see like, oh my God, is that really how that was built? This is what we've learned. And being able to having to switch what we've learned in school versus what I just saw with my own eyes that you can't tell me I didn't see is a really big thing. And so it's wild. Aliens are real, guys. Aliens are super real, and they're here and they're living with us, and that's mind-blowing enough. We have a viewer that she's not with us right now. She had a heavy encounter with them in real time walking down the streets of Atlanta, and she was like, absolutely not. Like, why are you here talking to me? It's all mind-blowing, Drago, to be honest, because it's real. This stuff is real, and the ability to dig deep beyond finding verifiable data first before going into a place that we have no idea what we're digging up, and for 5 of us to gather and get the same thing every single time, it's all mind-blowing, even when it's something simple. And to see what's happening in the world before it happens, it's a little triggering. to me. It's a little triggering. I don't watch the news. I don't watch a lot of TV. What's funny is she brought up Lucifer and her feelings about Lucifer. I thought he was the coolest person ever. And then I was like, yo, I wish he would just use his abilities for good. Like and mind you, I said, oh, this reminds me of Lucifer, but I was talking about the TV show, not the entity. But when I said it, it was like the way he aired and like gave off his existence and how he was manipulating people, like just the things that he did. It reminded me of watching the TV show Lucifer, which gives him a personality. It's not this big red devil horned goat guy. It's not, it's a person. So it was a being that looks like me and you. And they had their own thoughts about life and was like, this is what I want to do. Let's all do this thing. And there you have the rebellion.
And that kind of leads into like the whole war in heaven and what happened, right? Like
war in heaven hit me the hardest of all the religious things. I asked him not to send me to any more biblical stuff. Obviously, he didn't listen. But the war in heaven was definitely like, you can go on YouTube and see that target reveal. And I think, do we have that one for free? Going on YouTube or going on farsightprime.com, and you will see the war in heaven, and you will see me hold this paper up to my face, because coming from a very Christian religious background, I used to be like a child minister. I was saving souls, right? And as a child, my mom told me all of her friends called me the snake charmer. They said I could charm the devil back into heaven. And,
that's really cool, though. I said that's really cool.
Right, it's wild. But this is like as like 12, like 9, from like 9 to 13. Wow. That age bracket. I was doing that. I was winning Bible verse competitions. I could tell you about your life. I'm also, and still, I'm prophetic. I can see, I'm a seer. And remote viewing has only helped that, but to see the war in heaven and literally growing up in the households that I was in, and in church every Sunday, in church every Wednesday, sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays, bringing and hearing and knowing and being able to quote scripture to everybody, and knowing what they said in Revelation about the dragon, about these things, and knowing what they said in Matthew about these things, and then to see it differently, to see it in the galaxy, to see heaven. Ooh, I'm getting emotional talking about it. Hold on. To see heaven and the war as these planets colliding, to see the asteroid belt falling in pieces, just falling apart, and these fiery things just going on surrounding me. And now it looks, and I think I remember saying it looks like pixie dust, like fair, like just everything had a party, and it was like confetti, but it was demolition of bits and pieces of planets happening. And I got chills. I get chills every time I talk about it, because like it did change everything. I had to rewire my brain. I'm getting emotional. I had to rewire my mind. I had to rewire, and I was already in that process in my life. I told my mother, I said, I think I had moved away from home, 18, 19, 20, I'm in Atlanta by myself, no family. And I'm before remote viewing. This is before I met remote viewing. And I was questioning, my faith. And my mom, she's my biggest supporter. She told me, the 10 Commandments are just a way of life. Don't do bad things to people. Don't treat people wrong. Don't take nobody, man. Like that's basically all it says. Be good to your mama. Be nice to people. And even in, I practice African traditional religion. I will not be happy if he sends me to the Orishas. I'll quit. I'll probably quit. But even in that space, if Fa says the same thing, is the 16 laws of Ifa and the 10 commandments, they mirror each other. Basically, be nice. And so that's how I lived my life while I was trying to figure out spirituality and religion, and the fact that I did identify with just trees and stuff. I'm a tree hugger, all of the things, being able to do that, and my mom setting me in that space helped me to be open to what remote viewing is. And so learning about these things, I really did have to fully reprogram and walk into everything with an open mind, walk into everything without editing it out. I live my life by way of how I remote view. Remote viewing is a way of life for me. It's not just something I do. I gather intel and data around me, and I don't edit anything out. I give exactly what I am getting. I do not assume that I know what something is being said or happening. I wait until everything is confirmed. And I operate in my life, even when I'm communicating in real time with people, I describe what is happening. I don't define what is happening. I'm not going to have a definition of what me and Rob are talking about. What I am going to do is describe it, because that description of what we're talking about is always going to be correct. Me defining my perspective of what we're talking about may be wrong, because we have two different perspectives of life, two different ways of living, two different cultures. And so it's my way of living, it's my way of life. And that's why I ask a lot of questions. I move in that space, and the war in heaven, that changed my life. I moved back to North Carolina temporarily because I was on maternity leave at the time. I had just had my baby, and I drove down for the Target reveal all the way to Georgia in a snowstorm.
Wow.
with my baby. And mind you, I got off on the wrong exit and ended up going back home by accident, went at my halfway mark and had to turn back around. So I was driving for hours trying to get to the studio in a snowstorm to find out that heaven doesn't exist in the way that I thought it did. And it definitely threw me for a loop. It really did.
Wow, that's powerful. Like, for real, yeah. And I guess this is a good time to mention, all this can be accessed on Farsight Prime, right? Like, that's where, and like, how many viewers do you guys have now? I saw there was one about someone's baby that someone has a hybrid baby, like it's on the front, and then I also saw that you guys work with Dr. Brown's son too, Aziz, right? So how many people do you guys have on your team now?
On our team, there's 5 of us. And then, Intysam, you can go ahead, and you look like you were about to respond. On our team, there's 5 of us. And I believe we have 1 or 2 people that are not in Farsight that come in and out sometimes with certain information that we used to have. I think we had Rock come in at a point in time. We had a couple of people that did not work with Farsight, but did some of our projects or whatnot. But there are 5, me, Intysam, Shantae, Kamaya, and Aziz.
That's so cool, yeah. And like I said, all this, and people can get all this stuff right on Farsight Prime, right? If they sign up, they can see every one of you guys' remote viewings.
Correct. Farsightprime.com. We also have an app in both iOS and in the Play Store for Android or the Google phones or whatnot. So you can find that app in any of your Play stores or our app stores. We do have our what everyone has access to, and then it's $10 a month.
That's pretty cool. That's
it helps fund Farsight. So if you're not already on farsightprime.com, and you want to consider and you want to continue seeing what we have and hearing the truth about what we're uncovering, subscribe. Really subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to farsightprime.com, because it funds our work. It keeps us going.
Yeah, and you guys, and whoever wants to answer this can go ahead. You guys never have any clue what you guys are going to be remote viewing, right? Like you kind of just do the remote view, and then Dr. Brown tells you afterwards. Is that how it works out?
Yeah, so it's our specific method of remote viewing is scientific remote viewing, and that keeps consistency with like how we collect data. But a big part of that is the targets have to be blind. The remote viewer cannot have any preconceived ideas of what the target would be. So that's consistent with every project, every target.
Yeah, because that if you had an idea of what it could be, that could possibly put like other thoughts in your head besides just like the pure message of what you're getting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it takes like a lot of practice to even, that's why we mentioned like intuition and like just following, like no editing out data, because that information is going to come, so we just make sure to record everything we can that comes to us. So
that's amazing. So do you guys ever do any other kinds of remote viewing? Have you ever tried like associated remote viewing and stuff like that? I heard like associated remote viewing is good for like stock market and stuff like that. Or do you guys ever mess with that?
No, we really don't. Farsight is strictly SRV when it comes to remote viewing. And associate remote viewing, it is good for stock markets and types like that, but we have our own form of remote viewing for SQL forecasts, trying to gauge how the market is going to behave. With ARV, it can be a little bit tricky because you have multiple targets. All three images associated with whatever it is that you're trying to find out, all three of them are part of the same target, are all targets. So the viewer in that case can pick up all three. And that is the thing about it that can be a little tricky. So with ARV, you need volume. SRV, our targets go on for hours. When we sit down to do a remote viewing session, we're in it for a long time. So yeah, we go deeper, much deeper, as opposed to describing something simpler, because we're describing events. We're going into deep mind probes, and yeah.
Go ahead, Yeme.
Oh no, you're fine. No, exactly what she said, and I know that I am working on a way personally, like external of Farsight, for me to kind of like psychometry, being able to tap in without the session for certain things. That's something I'm personally working on. That is a way of remote viewing. Like if any of you guys know Sean Bond, he is amazing. If he's here, I love you.
Yeah.
You're a wonderful being. His style of remote viewing is fascinating to me. And I'm always in awe. And I'm just like, I want to be able to do that. And if everyone else is like, well, I want to be able to do what you do. And I'm like to be able to just look at something and then start spewing and going in is wonderful. That is something I've been actively working on teaching myself, so that I can soon add that to what we're doing, in the space here. Because I'm sure all of us have our own tactics on top of what we've learned with Farsight. We all have a slightly different way of remote viewing, and we all have slightly different things. And but yeah, so I know that is something I'm personally working on, but that's something I've always wanted to do.
That's cool. And for the people that don't know, I got to meet you guys. I got to meet Yeme and Intysam in person last year at the Full Disclosure Now conference. I wish Brian would have had it again this year. I had a blast. But are you guys doing any conferences this year or anything like that? Do you know of?
Haven't been booked for anything yet. I am open for bookings. I am open. I love being on stage for things. Last year, I took a break because I got very ill last year, and so I was unable to do a lot of things. But I'm letting everybody know I'm 1,000% better, and I am ready to get back flying around the world to teach this and to talk about this. And I think I can speak for Intysam and Shantae when I say that they would like that too.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten to go to any conferences, so I would love to experience that and actually meet more of their community. So
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
yeah,
really nice to meet you, Rob, in
yeah, well, it
person.
was. It was really cool. Yeah, I had a blast last year. That conference was so much fun. You know, it really was. This was an amazing interview. Does anybody have anything else they want to share before we finish up?
Um, yeah, I know a lot of people know that my business is Princess Views. I am actively shifting that into Hyperscope. And so soon I do have a website, hyperscope dot space. I think that's cool. Hyperscope dot space. They say it's for this type of stuff. So it's hyperscope dot space. You can look at my courses online. I am doing some website navigating right now. So don't book online, book personally with me. And you can still find my email as princessviews@gmail.com. And as I'm shifting it, you guys will see all of that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Intysam, one more time, did you want to plug your game again for the people that, because we have a lot more people watching now that might have not heard, or anything else you might want to mention about it before we go?
Yeah, you can, if you want to learn remote viewing in a fun space with your friends. And this is gonna be SRV style. So the way the game works is you have a judge who looks at a photo. There's about 132 targets in here, landscape, objects, animals, and color. And the people around you will just try to perceive what you're looking at. And when I hosted a game night for this, I brought in like some people as a control group, some people that I was like, I don't think you're gonna do very well because they just don't believe in this kind of thing. So I'm just gonna have them here as a control group, and they actually did better than anybody else, which made me really happy because now I know this isn't a niche game. This is something that anybody else can play, and it can really awaken that within you. So the game is Third Eye Quest, and you can find this on Amazon by typing Third Eye Quest remote viewing game.
Wow, that's awesome. And Shantae, did you have anything you want to share? And then thank you, Yemi and Intysam. And Shantae, is there anything you want to promote or anything you want to tell people how to follow you or anything like that? Or
I don't have anything to promote in this moment. I'd like to have more like remote viewing related YouTube videos. I only have a few, but I just in general want to share that if you're interested in remote viewing, please give it a shot. Like, have patience with yourself. On our website, farsight.org, like we have still even free resources as well. Like we have free target pools and things for you to practice with friends. Like, there's a variety of ways that we have, options. So a big thing with Farsight is, trying to encourage people to at least try, like, and you'll see when you have your results, like, oh, I can do this. And hopefully more people will, awaken to their various psi abilities. So I'll share that.
wow,
And it's
well
very
said. Well, thank you.
important that we open up that space to open up our psi abilities and connect with us, because we all have access to it. A lot of you have dreams. A lot of you have, like, I have a friend who literally screenwrites the stuff we're doing, and he is a director, and he says, I have dreams of these things. And he's basically writing out everything we're talking about with this Cold War. So listen to yourself and find out the avenue, start your meditations, clear your mind. All three of us are teachers. Email us if you want to learn. And just leave yourself open to opening up your psi ability, because that's the thing that's going to save yourself, save us all, and help save humanity.
I think that's really beautifully said, and that's really well said. I agree. Like the more people that open up their abilities, the better world this will be. And thank you, ladies, so much for coming on. I thought this went really well, and thank you, everybody, and have a good night, everybody, and everybody go to Farsight Prime and sign up. And thank you, guys. Good night.